Hola everyone, good to see you again. Obviously I'm out in this lovely place in the woods here, and I was thinking about this amazing woman that I had the great privilege of being introduced to the other day. Not personally, but I found her. Tricia Lindsay, I believe she's a civil rights attorney. And this speech, very impassioned speech, using words that maybe are bigger than some people are comfortable with. We are at war! It was in connection with I think it was a gathering for the American version of the trucker convoy. Not entirely sure about that. But I saw this fantastic, beautiful being, this black woman, rising up with passion, with integrity, with spine, dedicated to truth, life and liberty. All of these things that we used to take for granted that are now becoming a little bit more rare for our leaders to be in favor of. And she was stood there, and she was an orator of historic quality, like a Martin Luther King or an Obama, these great orators that have been spellbinding millions of people. And she was that kind of orator, a new leader. I had never seen her before, never heard about her before, and made me think about all of the new leaders that are coming out of the woodworks now as the old systems are breaking apart. I'm thinking of this bearded dude that is wandering around the streets of Ottawa and is a very impassioned speaker, speaking truth in a way that feels kind of divinely inspired, channeled, because it's just coming. Pearls on a string, no thought, just like, wow. This is somebody who has really become a vessel for something. And I'm seeing all of these people pop up all over the place on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram. We have leaders like, what's his name? O'Keefe. I don't remember his first name. The Project Veritas dude. Joe Rogan, obviously, and all of these new doctors that have, well, very, very well-established doctors, but new to us, like Malone and McCullough. Interestingly, all of these are receiving the label as some sort of conspiracy theorist or some sort of purveyor of disinformation, some sort of danger to public health and democracy even. And I haven't seen any takedown attempt of Tricia Lindsay yet, but I would love to see what that is going to look like. A black woman, civil rights attorney, tapping into the tradition of Martin Luther King. How are you going to take down this woman? Maybe you're going to accuse her of having internalized white supremacy. There's a lot of creative labels. And what is happening here exactly? I think what is happening is that we are watching the leaders and the structures of the old world utterly crumble right in front of our faces. And that the immune response of this old world is throwing out all of these tantrums, like fascist or alt-right or disinformant, conspiracy theorist. And all of these labels seem to be finger pointing straight back at the people sending them out there, because typically mainstream media, politicians, institutions lately have been purveyors of disinformation, conspiracy theories, and all of the things that they are accusing the heterodoxy of pushing out there. And so it is clear to me that we are in the middle of the death spasms of a world and a system of governance that no longer works for us. It's interesting to me to see somebody like Justin Trudeau, because only a decade ago, like most of us, were enthralled by this guy. He seemed progressive, he seemed to have good values, he was handsome, he seemed playful, and he seemed to be an antidote to kind of a rigid, corrupt, power-grabbing kind of guy like Rumsfeld or Cheney or Bush or people like that. And now we are, I guess, 48 hours into him invoking the Emergencies Act in Canada, which is basically Canadian for martial law. And well, he has essentially given himself the privileges of a dictator. Obviously, I spoke in a very impassioned way the other day about why I don't like Trudeau. I know it pissed off several of you. I know people unsubscribed. But you know, I can't keep silent about these things because I'm dedicated to sovereignty. I'm dedicated to seeing us men rise up in maturity and in personal power, in truth and dignity. And when I see somebody as young, emotionally, psychologically, have so much power, at least outer power, inner power, there's very little of in this man. I'm like shocked at the fact that we're still here. I'm done with this shit, really. I'm done with this kind of leadership. I'm done with people that are in high positions that are so psychologically destabilized internally that they have no capacity to admit they're wrong. They have no capacity to take feedback. Even the various, what are they called? Not governors. What are they called? You know what I'm thinking about. The various heads of the regions. They were against this, at least 3 of them. But he's like, no, we need to take down this threat against democracy. Well, I'm imagining that that's how he was. And even though he looked so good to us, he's now turning out to be exactly the same. And around the world, we're watching our leaders, especially the Western leaders, enacting patterns of dictatorial control and a kind of totalitarian indoctrination of the population that we haven't seen in my lifetime. These are the death spasms, the death throes of a paradigm that is no longer sustainable. And it does look like this weird James Bond villain, Klaus Schwab, Uncle Schwab. He seems to be somehow at the center of it because all of these leaders have been through his leadership training. Not a very high quality leadership training in my book. I would have taken them through Reclaim Your Throne instead, personally. But hey, I'm just a small fringe voice here, so, and I happen to have a little bit of a bias. But these people, I think more and more of us, of course, there are those who are still attached in a kind of Stockholm Syndrome way to the old systems, and they're just hoping that they will prevail and ensure that we keep having the quality of life that we have grown up in. But it seems to not be in God's plan, if you will, for that to happen. I don't actually wish for this. I am looking to people like Tricia Lindsay and that guy in Canada, man, I'll take him over Trudeau any day of the week. These are people that are bringing in the voice of sovereignty again. Because the oligarchic totalitarian forces that are currently crumbling are calling on the name of Martin Luther King in some sort of blasphemous virtue signaling kind of way to pretend that they are in his tradition. Clearly they're not. Rather, a woman like Tricia Lindsay is in his tradition. And I'm going to give you that recording at the end of this video. But let me just end with this reflection on what is happening to leadership. Because I think that on the other side of this mess that we're in now, leadership is going to look somewhat different. I'm imagining that we're going to see a more distributed form of leadership because humanity will have risen to a much higher level of sovereignty as a result of all of the challenges that are being thrown our way now. And so the level of power and the level of commitment to truth and justice and love is going to be unparalleled compared to what we've seen previously in our lifetime. And so we will have so many millions of highly qualified leaders. And so you won't necessarily need a similar kind of leadership structure. I don't know what it's going to look like. I am firmly opposed to this kind of progressive so-called thinking that we don't need hierarchies. Because, well, look at this. I don't know if you can see, but look at this. It's a fallen tree, this one, but you have these pine needles, and then you have branches, and then you have the trunk, and then you have the tree. That's a hierarchy. You cannot have the pine needles without having the trunk or in the roots. Hierarchy is intrinsic to nature, and if you're trying to remove it, you're going to fall into some snake pit that is, on some level going to unleash chaos upon us. So we need some kind of organizing principle for our systems of leadership, but we're going to find something new, and this is what I'm super excited to see emerge in the next couple of years. I'm sure that there are so many millions of people now out in the world that are much more competent at leading countries and corporations than the people who are currently doing it. They just don't know it yet. Maybe they need a little bit of a training in business and strategy in these things, but they have the heart and the soul connection intact. And this is what we need more of. So I'm going to now yield the floor and the stage to Tricia Lindsay, civil rights attorney, and just an extraordinary human being. And I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you next time.
How you doing out there? Uncomfortable yet? Good. I want everyone to understand, and as much as that was a little out of protocol, what this young man just said a little while ago, I appreciate his enthusiasm and his passion, because we need to leave this place empowered. You understand? It's not good enough to just come here and listen to speeches and go back home and get comfortable again. We are at war. We are at war for our family, our children, our lives. The 14th Amendment gives us due process. It guarantees us equal protection under the laws. So why in the world are the unvaccinated being treated differently than the vaccinated? It is the new segregation. It is the new discrimination. And we have to stop it. Government for the people, by the people, will not be destroyed. We have to recognize our power. We are magistrates. What is happening here today, what is happening around our state and in our city, is people are invoking the doctrine of the lesser magistrates. And most of you probably don't even understand what that is, and don't even understand what I'm talking about. Well, the doctrine of the lesser magistrates is the doctrine upon which this country was founded. It is the basis of the 10th Amendment, which says that any authority that is not given to the federal government is reserved to the states. And if our local leaders fail to protect its citizens and fails to step between a tyrannical federal government and its citizens, fails to protect the rights of its citizens, then those rights and authority is extended and given to the people. We, the people, is how the Constitution starts. A magistrate is a person that operates under authority. They have power. There are higher magistrates and there are lesser magistrates. The founding fathers of this country understood that there's going to come a point in time where the federal government will need to be checked. If not, they will become tyrants. And that is what's happening now. So, the Declaration of Independence says that everyone, by virtue of being a human being, has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The federal government, too, the federal government, their purpose is to protect the rights of those citizens, the rights of us to our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The third point of that document is if they fail to protect its citizens and enforce those rights, the citizens have a right to revolt. Do you understand? We have a right to resist, and we have an obligation obligation and a duty to do so. Do you understand? Do you understand when it says a duty to step between a tyrannical government and its laws? They are coming for our children. We cannot sit down. Every great leader knows, every one of them, even the bad ones know, that if you want to affect the country, you go for its children. When in the world do we start using children as bulletproof vests for us? When in the world do we start testing things on children? It comes to us first. And when you come for our children, you have started a war. And they have declared war, and we are answering to that war. We are magistrates, and I need you, each one reach one and teach one. Do you understand? As a magistrate in this country, the United States government, our local leaders have to answer to us. The 9th Amendment says that any rights that are not enumerated in the Constitution are reserved for the people. So I don't want to hear that mandates are not enumerated in the Constitution, because for the fact that it's not enumerated means that that authority and those rights goes to us. And so every one of these mandates are illegal. Every single one of them. Under that 14th Amendment, due process and right to equal protection is the right to protect my body. When you want to push something into my body against my consent, without my consent, it is rape. And this is medical rape. When you want to take my children into a room and give them a Snicker bar and some damn fries and talk about come get this vaccine, it is tantamount to kidnapping. That's what it is. You don't have control of my children. You don't have control of me. They shut our doors and try to give us God Fauci. To hell with Fauci. The churches are surrendering their pulpits to the demonic hawkle. I'm not coming to your church. You're not getting my tithes. Are you crazy? Take your children out to school. I'm a former educator of 24 years. They stopped teaching them years ago. You just didn't know.
Yes, that's true.
You just didn't know. Education went to hell years ago. They taught them compliance. They stopped teaching them to think. Analytical thought went out the window with state exams. Those state exams are just being used to track your children, to determine who's going to college, to train them to support this God-forsaken system, or the rest that's going elsewhere. They have pushed us into prisons. I don't care how you look at it. If you're in corporate America, you're imprisoned by your lifestyle. If you're in the government, you're imprisoned by your job with good benefits. You understand? If you are on subsidy, you're imprisoned by their benefits. We have to get out their system, pull yourself out, pull your dollars out, and level it. All they care about is money. And you can see it with the flip-flopping of the guidelines and of the requirements. And who's at work and who's not at work. And what court says this and another court says that. We have to hold them all accountable. They want to rewrite the Constitution. I'm ready with my pen, because there's some changes that needs to be made in this country. So they better be careful who they pull to the table. They better be careful what table is spread, because I got some ideas, and I'm sure everybody here does too. No time to be comfortable. We have to fight. Every authority in this country, in this world, our laws were written and our authority is delegated by God Almighty. When the laws of this country violate and go against and contradict the laws of God, then that government has become tyrannical. They have to be overthrown. We have to revolt. We have to resist. and do anything we can to protect our freedoms. And we must be involved. We must be informed. And we must be motivated to act. And we must act. Teach your children. Get them involved so they can stand. So that when someone approaches them, they can stand and know what they're talking about. You understand me? Educate yourself so that you know how to resist. They are trying to make these mandates into laws because by the 13th Amendment, if it becomes a law and we break it, we become involuntary servants. We become slaves. They are turning our country into one massive, huge slave ship. And I don't know about you, but I'm not signing up for that cruise line. Don't fight your neighbors. Don't fight your family members that are vaccinated and want to fight you. Walk away in peace. Try to educate them, and if they resist, leave them. Unfortunately, in every war there will be casualties. And a lot of times they will be people that we love. So be it. It is what it is. It is what it is. You love them from a distance, you pray for them, and you hope that they come over and wake up. But if they don't, we don't have time. We don't have time. We are at battle, we are in a war, and we have to keep going. We have to be uncomfortable and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have to stand, and we are given a charge to fight for your families, fight for your homes, fight for your brothers, fight for your sisters. Because my God says, pursue the invading army. Because if you pursue them, you will recover. If we back up, we won't. These are uncircumcised Philistines. They cannot stand against the armies of the living God. We are the armies of the living God. Know who you are and whose you are. Go back to your neighborhoods and fight. We are magistrates. Let me hear you. We are magistrates. We are magistrates. Stand between an unjust government and its laws. God bless you, and God bless these United States of America.